And I got my guy back with me, Ariel Hewani. Thank you for your time. Good to see you again, man.
Shout out to New York.
Shout
out to Fight Hut.
Oh, we're going to talk about it if we get back around. But let's start with what's really pressing right now. So Jake Paul, Mike Perry, big fight this weekend. Ariel, how do you see the fight? I know you're obviously covering it, so you can't give too much of a prediction, but how do you think things go?
I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to go the distance, 8 rounds. I think it's going to be a brawl. I could see it being like 5 rounds to 3, 6 to 2 max. I don't think it's going to be a one-sided affair. Like you said, no predictions, just because fighters are very sensitive and they get mad at you when you make predictions. But I think it's going to be a very fun fight. I think Mike Perry is allergic to boring fights. I can't think of one boring fight this guy's ever been in. I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to show up. And I think it's going to be great theater on Saturday.
Yeah, and according to how things went up there at the press conference, you got to be careful with what you say about Mike Perry, my friend.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny about that? I called him an SOB. Like, you call people SOBs like as a term of endearment.
That must be a Canadian thing. I don't know. No, I'm just joking.
Nah, like Stone Cold Steve Austin is the toughest SOB.
Yeah.
But then he's calling himself an MFer. He's calling himself an MFer. What's worse?
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't want to correct them, but I was like, yo.
Smart thinking,
it's a little bit suspect if you ask me.
Hey, there you go. So, look, again, I know time is limited, so I want to talk about some pressing topics. UFC 306, you know, they stole the show from boxing. They're going to have Mexican Independence Day. And obviously that's a date that's, at the Sphere, to be clear. But they're going to be there. It's going to be a big show. Dana says it might be the biggest card they've ever had, even bigger than 300. And my question for you is, that's a date normally reserved for Canelo Alvarez.
Yep.
What does Canelo need to do to steal that date back? Is it fight Benavidez?
Oh, I mean, that would start it. And honestly, like, I guess he could also do his fight at T-Mobile, right? Because the Sphere isn't related to T-Mobile, but T-Mobile is somewhat in bed with the UFC, so I don't know if they would want to do that. In any event, last year when the UFC beat Canelo to the punch, because remember, Canelo had to go September 30th to fight Charlo. UFC put on a fight night at T-Mobile, which I couldn't believe they got there first, but these fights take a long time to materialize. UFC went in there and they had a show ready to go, and it was a brilliant show. So, yeah, I think it's a tough thing for Canelo, and I think it would be great if he's able to get the date back. But UFC doesn't want to give that up, and they said that this show is going to be a love letter to Mexico. And Dana has always spoken very highly of Mexican fighting. He's a longtime boxing fan as well. So, yeah, it's tough. I heard some rumors that maybe he'll still try to go September 14th, Canelo. Who knows?
I guess the Eubank or maybe Berlanga.
I would say maybe just go the following week, but that would be what a time that would be in Las Vegas if they're both going head to head.
Yeah, but you think Benavidez would have to be the show if he were to try to steal that day back?
I think it has to be. I think anytime can. I mean, I was there when he fought Munguia. It was a nice atmosphere, but that's Crawford would obviously be gigantic too. But I don't really want to see that right now. I'd rather see Crawford. If he beats Madrimov, I'd rather see him fight Boots next.
There you go.
What's your prediction with that fight, if he ever fights Crawford and Boots?
Man, putting me on the spot. I gotta go. I still gotta go with Crawford for now, until proven otherwise. That fight against Spence was so long ago. I think we forgot how good he looked in that fight. And I know in the aftermath, Spence, you could say, oh, he was banged up. He wasn't the same. The accident, the eye, the retina, blah blah blah. Look what he did to him. He skunked him essentially. And Boots looked good on Saturday, but he did get hit a little bit. And I know he probably wanted to put on a show, and he was probably rusty as well. But until proven otherwise, to me, Crawford is the man.
What are your thoughts on Shakur Stevenson with the criticism that's going on with him about him being a boxer, not being exciting, but he's real technical? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a little bit unfair. I appreciate all kinds of fighters, and I don't think you always have to be in brawls to be beloved or to be a ticket seller. I think a change of scenery, meaning promoter for him, would be great. It would be perfect timing. And look at what Eddie did with Boots. I think it's a no-brainer. Go with Eddie. Eddie will promote him. Some of these guys who don't like to talk as much, and I know Shakur likes to talk a little bit more than Boots, but like Eddie is so good at speaking on their behalf and building them up and hyping them up. And look at what he did. He brought Boots to Philly. He sold around 14,000 tickets. It was an incredible crowd, incredible atmosphere. At least on TV, I was watching it. And he made Boots seem like a superstar. Headliner, the man, the whole show was built around him. He could do the same with Shakur, so that's what I would do if I were him.
What are your thoughts on the whole Masvidal, Nate Diaz, with Nate Diaz suing, not getting the full percentage of his pay?
It sucks, man. He's claiming that he's owed $9 million. That's awful. He was paid $1 million up front, and he was, contractually expecting to get $9 million after the fact, not to mention pay-per-view buys and all that. It sucks. And it just goes to show, like, I saw some people saying, like, this is a sign that boxing is crap or whatever. Like, no, this is not boxing. This is a promoter that's put on one boxing event. So you can't crap on boxing and say that this is a boxing problem. Like, with all due respect, what is Fan Mio? You know what I mean? They put on Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather. That's not a boxing problem. And when have you ever heard Top Rank not paying or Queensberry not paying or Matchroom not paying, like the traditional like top dogs, if you will? So very unfortunate, and I hope he gets all his money.
And lastly, what do you think about John Jones and the controversy once again with him being, arrested?
Oh, all that. Well, he pleaded not guilty, and so let's see what happens. Just like the Nate Diaz situation, two sides to every story. So let's see how that plays out. But hopefully we get to see John back in November and see him continue on his way.
All right, just one for the UK fans.
Yeah.
Big Wembley show. Anthony Joshua, Daniel Dubois. Do anything for you?
I will be there.
Really?
I will be there. My first time at Wembley. I can't wait. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm also going to be in the UK after the Olympics. I'm hoping to go to a Nottingham Forest match because, I love Nottingham Forest. I think it's a great matchup. I have to tell you, yesterday on my show, I had Zhile Zhang on, and he really hyped up that Joshua rematch because they fought in the Olympics. Yeah. But I think Dubois has looked amazing as of late, as has Joshua, but I wouldn't sleep on Dubois. He's really coming into his own. Look at that performance against Hrgovic. I think this will be a really tough test, and the card is very fun as well. So Joshua fighting in a big stadium in the UK, sign me up.
Sticking with the heavyweights, obviously we saw Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk getting a nod on the decision that night. What would you say, outside looking in, Tyson needs to do differently if he's going to reverse the result for December?
Oh man, it was interesting because I thought it was like a tale of three fights. Yeah. I thought like the early going was Tyson, the early going was Usyk, then Tyson, and then Usyk towards the end. I favored Usyk going into that fight. I just thought he was quicker. I think he's a better boxer, and I thought that he was going to give Tyson all kinds of trouble. And look, we'll see what happens. I think Tyson is one of the greatest of all time, and I think he's obviously one of the best heavyweights of this generation. But I just wonder if how there's some guys. If Joshua fights Usyk 10 times, Usyk's probably going to win the majority of those fights, and I wonder if it's the same with Usyk and Fury as well. And so he just has to be himself. He has to be smart. He has to, use his range, use his length, use his boxing IQ, and try to figure him out. But obviously, that is easier said than done.
Tyson's training situation was a big talking point after that fight. We obviously saw the clip from the corner of his dad, Sugar Hill, Andy Lee, all seeming to shout over each other. Yeah. What'd you make of that?
Yeah, not great. And that's obviously something that has to be addressed. There needs to be one chief corner and then everyone else chimes in. And so that only makes you wonder, what was it like in the build-up, right? Are there different messages? Are there different people saying different things? And so let's see what happens. But I'm not ready to write off Tyson Fury just yet. He's too good. He's too talented. He's had too great of a career for us to write him off just yet.
Last one from me. We saw Conor McGregor get a mention. Him and Jake have obviously had a bit of a back and forth over the years. Conor's supposed to be fighting last month, withdrew. We all know he's had his out-of-the-ring issues. He's had a career-threatening injury. Heart of hearts, do you think we will see Conor McGregor back in the cage?
Yes. The tentative plan is by the end of the year, December, hopefully. And so I still believe that we'll see him. And I hope we see him. He has 2 fights left on his UFC deal, and he might re-sign after that. But I do believe. And honestly, I think he would come back sooner if he could, but there's just no available slots.
Do you think we could ever see him and Jake get it on in the boxing ring?
I wouldn't say no. I never say never. I mean, never thought that we would see Jake and Mike Tyson even announced. You know what I mean? So crazy things have happened in this fight game over the last few years. So yeah, I mean, and obviously Conor's talked about KSI too, right? So I don't think it's a crazy thought.
Cheers, Ariel.
Gentlemen, sorry to do this to you, but that's it. We're out.